Today, we're digging into a massive financial mystery unfolding in Meghalaya. It involves a truly staggering amount of money, and it all boils down to one simple question. Why are some companies allowed to lose billions of public funds year after year with zero consequences?
So let's start with the headline number, because it is just wild. Over 4,300 crore rupees. Now, this isn't profit, it's not some big investment. No, this is the total combined loss from Meghalaya's state-run companies. And this comes straight from a September 24 report by the Comptroller and Auditor General, the CAG. We're talking about a huge drain on public money.
And that number immediately leads to the real question at the heart of this whole thing. I mean, think about it. If these were private businesses, they'd have been out of business ages ago. So who exactly is benefiting from keeping these, well, zombie companies alive on life support?
To figure that out, you gotta follow the money. So let's dive into the hard evidence, right from the pages of that bombshell CAG report.
Okay, the picture this report paints is not pretty. Just look at this. For the 2022-23 fiscal year, out of Meghalaya's 17 state-owned companies, a whopping 15 of them were losing money. Only 2 actually made a profit. You know, this isn't just a couple of bad investments. This points to a problem that's deep and systemic.
Now, the report uses a key financial term that we need to get our heads around: equity erosion. All this really means is that a company has lost so much money for so long that its debts are now bigger than everything it owns. It's basically bankrupt on paper. And the CAG found that this was the case for 7 of those 15 failing companies.
And if you want to see the prime example of this, the poster child for all this mismanagement, look no further than the state's power company, MeECL. As you're about to see, it's the single biggest black hole for public funds.
Just to keep MeECL from completely collapsing and to help it pay off old debts from years of bad decisions, the state had to inject 312 crore rupees. And that's taxpayer money, mind you. This was between 2018 and 2025. It's a bailout, plain and simple, for what the government just calls legacy issues.
And here's where we get to the root of the problem. MeECL's power loss, technically called AT&C loss, is at 17%. Let me break that down. For every 100 rupees of electricity the company's supposed to sell, 17 rupees just disappear. Poof, gone. Either through theft, bad infrastructure, or just bills that never get paid. That is nearly double the national target. It's just a staggering amount of waste.
So, okay, the financial numbers are really, really bad. We get that, but it still doesn't answer our first question: why? To get that answer, we have to stop looking at the balance sheets and start looking for a completely different kind of profit, a political one.
You see, on paper, these companies, these public sector undertakings, or PSUs, they were created for a noble reason: to provide essential services like power and transport for the public good. But the reality, as the analysis points out, is that they often become tools for political gain. They're used to hand out jobs to the well-connected and contracts to favored companies.
And this is the absolute key to understanding the mystery. That 4,341 crore rupee loss, it isn't just a number that vanished. It represents real public money being funneled into private hands. And it happens in very specific ways: giving jobs to political allies, awarding contracts to friends, and creating endless opportunities for corruption when buying goods and services.
And all of this leads us to this huge, glaring contradiction at the very heart of the issue, what we can call the Great PSU Paradox. See, on one hand, the message the government sends to every private citizen, every small business owner, every entrepreneur is crystal clear. You have to compete. You have to be efficient. You have to survive in the marketplace. There are no free rides.
But then, on the other hand, look at how it treats its own companies. The actions are the complete opposite. It subsidizes them, bails them out, and keeps them alive no matter how poorly they perform. That is the paradox.
And right there, in that paradox, we finally find the answer to our mystery. These zombie companies are kept alive because their real purpose isn't economic at all. It's political. They're valuable to people in power, providing jobs and contracts, even as they burn through public cash. So once you understand that, it forces us to ask some really tough final questions. Questions about fairness, about accountability, and about what we should really expect from our government.
I mean, really, you have to ask, why is there one set of rules for private citizens who are trying to build something and a totally different, protected set of rules for state-owned companies that are funded by those very same citizens' tax money?
And this is just a practical question. Look, losing money for a year, okay, maybe 2.
But what about 5 years in a row? What about 10? Where do you draw the line? At what point should taxpayers be able to say, you know what, enough is enough?
Which leaves us with this one last really provocative thought to chew on. Does simply being owned by the government grant a company eternal life? Is it a get-out-of-jail-free card completely disconnected from performance, from efficiency, or from the value it's supposed to provide? That's a question worth thinking about.